Welcome to Suffering to Sovereignty. This podcast explores how unresolved trauma shapes our nervous systems and, in turn, how we lead, communicate, and perform in high responsibility roles. Let me begin by setting a clear frame for this space. These conversations are not therapy. They are structured dialogues designed to increase awareness, restore executive function, and bring compassion to patterns that often go unseen in accomplished professionals. You are always in choice here. What you share, how deeply you engage, and when you pause. My intention is not to fix or diagnose. It is to help illuminate how nervous system conditioning influences behavior, decision making, and relational dynamics. If something in these conversations resonates with you, that does not mean something is wrong with you. It means your system adapted intelligently to your past experiences. Awareness is where sovereignty begins. Today's guest is my dear friend, Ellen Mosti. Ellen has been a pharmacist and is now running the coaching company Lightness One All LLC. And Ellen has this amazing retreat center that she runs. Let's bring her forward and have her tell you her story. Welcome, Ellen. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, Nanette. It's great to see you. Yes, so I was a hospital pharmacist for over 20 years, and then I pursued a degree in spirituality and health because I found that while medicines have their place and they do miraculous things, they oftentimes can become Band-Aids where they just treat the symptoms and not the underlying cause. So I have been on a mission for the last 20 years to help people heal from the inside out and to come home to themselves so that they can shine their light in the world.
So we should be referring to you as Reverend Ellen Mosti?
It's actually Reverend Doctor, but Ellen's fine.
Reverend Doctor. Okay, great. And now you're also running this retreat center and coaching people.
I am.
What led you from healthcare into coaching?
The turning point came when my father was dying of emphysema and lung cancer in 1999 and 14 medications, a lot of them to treat side effects of other medications that he was on. And he was asking me as a pharmacist, as a clinical pharmacist in the hospital where he was, like, what are we doing? What drugs are interacting with what? And that's when I realized that we really only test one drug and one drug unless we know that there's some other underlying cause of interactions for medications. And I just realized, they certainly kept him alive a lot longer than we anticipated, and that we were really giving him a chemical soup that we had no idea what we were really doing.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's when I started looking at other alternatives to Western medicine and not to replace, but as adjuncts and supportive measures to really help people heal in body, mind, and spirit.
I like that. You and I met in a coaching certification, and I honestly don't remember which one. I know we've been in several together. And one of them was about exactly that, using energy medicine and alternative medicine and where that can be an adjunct to Western medicine. And I thoroughly enjoyed being in that class with you. There was another class we took, another certification we took that was not that joyful, relaxed experience. It was intense. It was challenging, and it got us certified in trauma coaching and substance abuse coaching. And my understanding is that this is something that you are currently using or wanting to build in your coaching practice. Is that correct?
It is correct, Nanette. I'm in Amplify right now, which is the trauma, addiction, and PTSD coaching certification with Genius Unlocked. And my thought is that a lot of us experience trauma. And how I define trauma is things that overwhelm our nervous system in the moment. So it's things that we can't process and respond to because we're so overwhelmed at the moment that they're occurring. And if we don't heal that, as Russell van der Kolk greatly talks about in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, all those things get stored in our body. And so that's what I want to do, is help particularly women release that trauma, release those stored emotions, that stored trauma. And I know from my own journey, the amount of freedom and joy and relaxation. I did another program with Genius Unlocked in December, Transcend to I retreat. You were there virtually.
I was, yes.
And that's the first time I actually felt like I came home to my body, and the first time that I actually wanted to be in my body. And I'm 64. So it's been a long journey to get here.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit more about that journey. Where would you like to start?
Wow. There's a lot of places I could start. But I will start with childhood. You know, all of us have different experiences of what happened in our childhood. And for me, you know, I had parents that I'm sure loved me and also didn't have the skills to argue or resolve disagreements in a peaceful manner. So there was a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting when I was growing up. And as someone who wants world peace, which is my main mission, it was a trying childhood to have warring parents. And so, you know, there were a lot of survival strategies that I took on then, such as people pleasing, peacekeeping, perfectionism. And some of those skills served me really well. And healthcare certainly, when I was there, rewarded those skills, because when you put yourself last and you put everything and everyone else first, everybody else gets the best of you. And so my journey has been really to come home to myself, to come home to that light and love that's inside of me, knowing that the resources and what I'm looking for, what I had been looking for outside of myself, actually resides within me. And that was the real turning point in my healing journey. And that came 4 years ago when I decided to start putting myself and my own health and well-being first.
That is something that a lot of women, particularly in healthcare, struggle with, just making that decision to start putting yourself first. Yeah. Was there a lot of guilt associated with making that decision?
There was. And then there was even more guilt because I stepped away from a 22-year marriage in that process because I no longer, the dynamic shifted, obviously. When I changed, the dynamic of the relationship changed. And I just no longer felt like it was a fit for where I wanted to be in my life. And so between the guilt of just putting myself first and making decisions and then leaving a marriage, it took some time to allow my body to release all of that and to realize that putting yourself first isn't selfish. It's self-full. And I mean, obviously I had decades of this pattern. It's not going to change overnight. It's not going to happen perfectly. There are a lot of imperfect moments in my life. Setting boundaries with my mother comes to mind. So most people go through this in their teen years. I went through it in my late 30s, where I finally differentiated and stopped some codependent behaviors that I had with my mother. And a lot of those were yelling and screaming, a lot of what the pattern that I saw growing up. And now I know that I can set boundaries from a place of love for myself and really love for the other person. Because what I found out is when you continue to say yes to everybody else and no to yourself, eventually resentment and anger set in because you're not honoring yourself. You're not honoring your heart and your heart's desires. And so when you're giving from that place of expecting something or of thinking that you're going to get the love and the acceptance that you so desperately are looking for, or at least I was so desperately looking for, outside of myself, there's disappointment because no one's going to give that to you in the way that you want it. And so that was the other big turning point in my life, is when I started giving myself the love, the care, respect that I've wanted for so long. Now I can give to others from a place of freedom and a place of joy and love without expecting anything in return. And then there's a freedom for them too, to receive that and for it to be a clean interchange versus one with strings attached.
I love that, because I know from experience that most of us set our boundaries from fear or from anger. And to see somebody hear somebody talking about setting them from love, it's a breath of fresh air. It really is. Thank you so much for that.
Welcome. And it is just such a different place to set boundaries from. And
yes.
Like I said, I didn't for a lot of time. And so I know the contrast of setting from that fear place versus setting them from a place of love and connection with yourself and what actually feels good. Because, if you've had a pattern of giving to others and not considering yourself, it's a real change in mindset and it feels really different.
Yes. Yes. And I know that you're teaching people to do this at your retreats.
I am.
And your clientele are mostly women. Is that correct?
It is correct. I mostly work with healthcare professionals, women in their 40s and older, because I find that that was the time for me when I really started reaching my breaking point.
I think as a woman in healthcare, I think a lot of us feel we need to do all this stuff, be very task oriented and serving others until our children are ready to fly the nest. And then when all of a sudden we're not doing for them, we realize that many of the people around us can do for themselves, like spouses, coworkers, and people say, well, you've just become so mean. No, it's not a matter of being mean. It's a matter of having those boundaries, like you said. So,
and what's been your experience with setting boundaries from a place of
I have gotten much better with that as I go through the self-development journey of becoming a coach and coaching others. I just got back from a 5-day vacation, and it was just me and my son at a convention of something that is his passion, and it got me completely outside of medicine. A lot of tabletop games, some cosplay, and that was a real reset for me. So I'm learning just how important it is to get completely away from the everyday things and use a different part of your brain. And it teaches you to approach things differently, but it also helps you to recognize earlier when you're starting to become anxious, when you're starting to become angry, when you're getting frustrated. And the reset can start earlier in a situation, which really keeps things from becoming problematic.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there a tie-in from your personal story to wanting to work with people who have substance abuse?
Yes. So again, back to childhood. My father was what I would call a high functioning alcoholic. he was self-employed and went to work every day, long hours, and drank heavily. And I started to see that pattern in my own life. And thanks to the work that you and I did together, I released all of the baggage around that. And now I continue to drink in moderation. And I can say that I can go long periods of time without drinking. And when I do drink, it tended to be after 2 glasses, tended to be 3 or 4. There seemed to be that tipping point where I just didn't stop. And so now I can stop after a glass or 2. And then I'm a lot clearer headed and not having all the side effects that we all know come with overindulging in alcohol. And also not using it as I have cleared up these old patterns, as I've released all this what I call baggage that we have stored in our cells. When you release that, there's a lot less anxiety and there's a lot less what I call self-medication. So instead of drinking to relieve anxiety or to calm down or to sleep, now I can breathe. Now I can take a walk. I can sit quietly. And to me, that's the biggest freedom of doing this work and working with other clients, of giving them that choice and that freedom back in their life.
That's amazing. That really is, because I know when I was in medical school, we were taught that there are 5 different categories of alcoholics. Everybody thinks about the person who drinks heavily every day, or the person who binge drinks, and on the weekends they go out and they drink like a case of beer instead of 1 or 2. We were also told one of those 5 types was the person who can't unwind without a drink every night. And I have seen that in my family. And when you think about the things that we use to unwind or to cope, cigarettes, CBD, caffeine, all of these things have side effects. And when we learn to tap into our inner self like you have done, it's incredibly freeing.
It is.
It is.
And that's why, I know that's why you do the coaching work that you do. And
yes.
Why I do the coaching work I do, and why I'm hosting retreats. Because like you said, it's one thing to do something for 5 or 10 minutes a day, maybe a half hour to breath work or meditation. But it's another to step out of that busy life and actually just give yourself a break to be with yourself. And that's what I'm creating here. It's a space that women can come and experience the light formula and to reconnect with their own light.
That's amazing. That really is. Tell us a little bit more about your company and what you have to help our listeners.
So my company is Lightness One All, because I believe that there is one creator for all of us, whatever you call that, whether it's God, Allah, life force, universe, source, and that there is unlimited love and energy for each and every one of us. And we have the ability to tap into that and to fill ourselves with that love and light. And that, as I said earlier, has been my own journey. So I have published a book, From Simply Surviving to Radically Thriving. It came out last year. It's 5 Steps to Unstoppable You. And the 5 steps are my light formula. And that light formula starts with love yourself first. Oh. And because that is where it starts. we have to love this body. We have to love the person that we are and find that acceptance for who we are and what we are. And then from that place, I think we can make decisions if we don't like a part of ourselves, or we think that we could be different. As we talked about, setting boundaries from fear versus setting boundaries from love. And that's been part of my growth journey. The next is inner check-in, because our bodies hold so much wisdom. We have intuition. We all do. Some of us just don't listen to it and override it. I know I did for years. But there is that inner wisdom. Our body knows what it needs, whether it's, so we need to check in and stop long enough to actually listen to our bodies. The G is gratitude and grace. Gratitude shifts our neurology. It changes our mood. It raises our vibration. I believe everything is frequency. And so we can stay at a lower frequency of fear and scarcity, or we can raise into the vibration of joy and love and abundance. And gratitude does that. Grace. I mentioned earlier, I was a perfectionist. It still pops up every now and then. And giving myself the grace to not be perfect, the grace to make mistakes and to move on instead of, for years I would beat myself up. Well, that also puts me in a lower energy state, and then it's harder to do everything. So grace has been one of my strongest suits. H is healthy foundations. And we all know this, especially healthcare providers. We know we need water. Our bodies are at least 70% water. Our brains are, I think, 80% or more. I see different numbers. You may have different numbers. So we need hydration. We need just to keep our bodies hydrated. We need good nutrition. And I can tell you for years, my meals were whatever I drove by when I was hungry. In my 30s, I put on a lot of weight, and I was wondering why I was dragging all the time and drinking 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day to just keep running. And certainly my body ran. I'm still here, but I like to use the sports car analogy that, you can run a sports car that wants high octane gas on regular, and it will run for a while, and eventually it will start sputtering and it will start knocking and not running so well. The same with our bodies. Our bodies don't run well when you don't give them good fuel. Then rest. Our bodies need rest. And I don't know about you, but a lot of healthcare professionals, especially during training. I mean, how many of us, I was a pharmacy resident. I worked 36-hour shifts. I know the interns and residents do the same thing. I mean, I didn't even know my name. One day I was in a meeting and someone said Ellen, and I looked down at my name tag and I'm like, oh, I was because they're talking to me. I can also sleep standing up. So
yes, I've done that. It's really odd when you wake up from that.
It's like, oh, where am I? The disoriented moment. But how, what an analogy for life of waking up and figuring out that we're the caretakers of this body. And the better that we take care of it, the better it will serve us. And then the last is movement. And certain healthcare professionals get a lot of that. Most of us are on our feet all day, every day. But really movement that is purposeful and relaxing. So whether that's yoga, tai chi, walking, swimming, some kind of movement that actually allows the parasympathetic system to come online and the sympathetic system to take a break. And the last is, I think, what you experienced this past weekend with your son. Take time for joy, because really life is meant to be enjoyed. And so many of us, I know for so many years, I was so serious and so focused on my career and serving everyone at the best of my ability. And joy was a second thought, if it was a thought at all. And now I actually take time every day to do something that brings me joy.
Oh, I love that.
So that's my light formula. And that's the experience that I offer here at my retreat center and in my coaching to, again, allow particularly women to connect and shine their light in the world.
Thank you, Ellen. It's been a true pleasure to accompany you on this journey and to watch you be a calming effect on those of us around you. I really appreciate that. The link to Ellen's book, along with all of her social links and her website, will be on the podcast page, and you'll be able to get the gift from her that way, the book and everything, along with her bio. So please check the podcast page and let us know what you liked. Thank you so much. As we close, I want to thank my guests for their honesty and their courage in sharing this conversation. These conversations matter because what we do not name, we carry. And what we carry silently often shows up in our bodies, our relationships, and our leadership in ways we never intended. If today's episode stirred something in you, I invite you to pause before moving on with your day. Notice what your body registered. Notice what feels familiar without trying to fix or explain. Awareness is not the end of the work. It is the beginning of choice. If you would like support continuing this conversation, I have linked a free nervous system awareness guide in the show notes. This short resource will help you find your personal triggers, recognize your default stress responses, and begin shifting from unconscious reaction to conscious choice with clarity rather than judgment. If this episode resonated with you, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with someone who might need this conversation. It helps this work reach the people who are carrying more than they let on. And if you are listening and feel a quiet pull to share your own story, I want you to know you are welcome here. If lived or witnessed trauma has shaped how you lead, how you work, or how you show up in the world, and you feel called to have a grounded, intentional conversation, you'll find a link in the show notes to apply to be my guest. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. I'll see you next time.